Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the October 25th meeting of the Economic Development Trust and welcome you all here. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. They have been distributed to the trustees prior to today's meeting. Are there any questions or comments as the minutes were distributed? Hearing none, the chair would have a motion for approval. Motion made and seconded. Please cast your votes. Do that. And the minutes are approved. The second item on our agenda, actually it's the third, is to ratify some claims. And the majority of these are associated with TIF 8. There are 3 that are not. 2 are Gold Bond disbursements, and 1 is, I think, a general fund expenditure. Are there any questions or comments on these disbursements? Chair will entertain a motion to ratify the expenditures.
Move approval.
Motion made and second to ratify the expenditures. Cast your votes, and the expenditures are ratified. Thank you very much. Next, item 4 are items for individual consideration. We've got several to talk about this afternoon. The first one, item A, is a resolution authorizing and directing the general manager and or his designee to negotiate an economic agreement for the United Engines, I think this one is.
It is United Engines, Mr. Chairman, and Ronnie Silver, I believe, is here with us today. Is Robin going to introduce Robin? Robin is coming, approaching the podium.
And Robin Roberts-Krieger is going to introduce Michael Ogan, who actually both projects today, United Engines and Centec, are Michael's projects. So if that's okay with everyone, I'll have Mike introduce our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Michael Ogan with the Chamber. We'll play a little musical chairs.
You're not going to introduce anybody else, good?
Yeah.
From the Chamber, that is.
Yeah, we have 2 companies before you. First one is United Engines. Their facility is already constructed and underway. Ronnie Stover, who's with the company, is here to speak with you about that. The second one, Tony Cutmore, who's the managing director with Centec, which is a new company to the area from the UK, is here to talk about that investment, and he'll follow Ronnie.
Good afternoon. My name is Ronnie Stover. I'm with UE Manufacturing. We are an entity of UE Engines, which some of you may be aware of, that's been in this community for quite some time. I appreciate your invite today to talk about our business. It's exciting for us to kick off another business line off of United Engines, and here to tell you a little bit about it. We came in at the end of last year, decided that they brought me in actually to create another business line. The business line was to expand the existing oil field service equipment, new and remanufacturing line. And in doing that, we work with, of course, everybody in the oil and gas industry, which we get a lot of pressure from Texas. Everybody wants to go to Texas, right? So being that the company was based here, that played a key part of it for sure. But after looking around, we thought that we would have the benefit of the existing company and with the state and hopefully the city, their dedication to for the company and what they proposed for us. It made our decision for us. We have it's a 94,000 square foot building out at 10,000 Northwest 2nd Street. Our plans are that in the next 5 years that we'll have an additional 170 employees at this facility, and the average wage for that it's around $37,000 for an average. It's a broad base of mechanical assemblers, welders, mechanics, and diesel mechanics and painters. So that makes up our company for the bulk of the new. There's a few admin people that will be hired and some sales and stuff, but the bulk of them are actually on the floor assembling units. And I believe that open to you for questions. if you have.
Are there any questions? Larry, on it.
A couple, you said 10,000 Northwest 2nd?
Yes, sir.
Exactly where is that geographically, if you could?
Excuse me?
Where is that geographically? How far out?
Morgan Road?
Morgan Road? Okay. It looks like your average salary, which is excellent, is going to be about $18.50 an hour. Is that roughly
Average, yeah.
what we're talking about? Which is very, very attractive. You will be supplying benefits
We do supply
in addition
that.
to that?
It's about $4,700 per employee. for
Great.
benefits.
And what kind of a skill set are these folks going to need, and how is Career Tech? Are they able to supply newcomers with those same skills, or how would you address that?
Yeah, so the manufacturing and around here, as you know, manufacturing employees are at a premium right now for sure. So we were attacking it in a couple different ways as far as assemblers go on the soil field equipment. Some of them, or the majority of the people, are not familiar with it, so we're having some training. We're also getting some training from Francis Tuttle. We're working with him and devoting some time for that. Along with just the assembler group, it's mechanics and diesel mechanics, that skill set.
And now the write-up that we were given said that you guys wanted to be first in this arena of taking advantage of the market. What is your timeline as far as getting ramped up?
So we'll be ramped up shortly. Actually, we're actually functioning out of this facility already. The reman is what this facility was built for. I think it looks like it's going to be Q1 of next year for it to actually take effect and be off the ground running at a decent speed.
Thank you.
Frank?
Do you have an association with, like Caterpillar or GM engines for remanufacturing, or do you just do that on your own? Do you have when you recertify or when you remanufacture, you can certify basically the warranties?
So we're an entity of UE Engines, which is MTU Detroit Diesel.
Okay,
So we have that, and then we are OEM for Caterpillar and Cummins.
Thanks.
Jim?
Sorry, Jim, just a question. First, a word of thanks for your presence and your continued growth in the area. Very much appreciate it. I noticed from the material provided to us that it speaks to your involvement with hydraulic fracking, and this state has safely fracked for decades, but there's other parts of the country that there's a lot of anxiety about and some threat of federal regulation. Any concerns on the horizon associated with what that regulation might do to the business projections that you have before us?
I won't say there's not any concern, but it's minimal. Most of the hydraulic fracturing questions are from people that don't understand what it's about. Right. It's getting clarity more and more every day. Job designs are changing, so we're not too concerned about it.
And I agree and appreciate that. Just, I guess, a question for Mr. Couch. The SIP recommendation is 340, and as the new guy, I guess I'm just curious, what goes into some of that matrix to help reach that number as the appropriate recommendation?
It's basically, it goes to the number of jobs and the amount of their payroll.
So that's the correlative?
That's the payroll, right?
We actually take the data from the company, which includes number of jobs, average salaries, and their investment. We utilize a model, economic impact model, called RPAS, that we work with the chamber on. We input that data into the RPAS model. It will tell us what the direct and indirect taxes will be over a 1 to 7 year period. We typically will take what we think is a safe amount and offer that somewhere. We always, this trust, when they approved the procedures or the policies back in 2007, man, it's been a long time, in 2007, sought a 5 to 7 year return on our money. So what we try to do is balance how we'll pay the money out and how the money will come back into our local economy. So we try to balance that out, and that's how we come up with our amount.
Okay.
And it's typically less than what our policy per job amount is.
All right, thank you. That helps. It certainly seems modest, and I'm prepared to support it, but it just...
Well, I just want to point out this resolution doesn't authorize any money This authorizes the staff to negotiate, and that target will be fairly close to what I think the negotiation will result in. But at this point, the resolution merely authorizes the staff to enter into some detailed negotiations to work out a contract. Yeah, Frank?
Do you have in-state competitors, or are they primarily Houston?
Not in the remanufacturing. Most of them are in Texas, Dallas, or Houston. One thing I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, one thing I forgot to mention was our investment just in the machinery in the building is about $2.5 million. So.
You had some comments?
Just a quick question. You're on the north side of Reno?
We are.
And so, Mr. Mackey, I believe that's the border between 1 and 3. So I think it's technically in Ward 1, but it's really, really close to Ward 3.
I understand, but his headquarters is in Ward 3, so
Okay.
we can forgive him for that.
We'll give you full credit, Larry. I want to thank you very much, and thank you again for choosing Oklahoma City to expand it. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I deserve your confidence.
Move for approval.
The motion made and approved the resolution authorizing negotiation of the contract. Please cast your votes, and the resolution is approved. Item B is a similar resolution for a company that is expanding, Syntex. Mike, are you going to introduce a representative from Syntex?
This is a new company to the market. They're currently in the UK only, and this will be their first and only U.S. manufacturing operation here to serve, again, the oil and gas country. And Tony Cutmore is the managing director of the company. He's here to give you a little bit of background on the company and the project they're looking at.
Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tony Cutmore, and I have a colleague over here, Paul Cooper, who is our financial controller, and I'm the managing director of Semtech in the UK. This picture you have in front of you, no, it's not. That's it. The picture you have in front of you shows a casing centralizer, and there's a stock collar top and below. This casing centralizer is put on casing prior to cementing the well, and then the idea is you pump cement through the casing right up around the outside, and you get an even cement sheath of cement all the way back to surface, which stops underground blowouts, and it packs off the formation properly. So this is the idea of a casing centralizer. Next one, who we are. We're one of the leading manufacturers in the UK, and you can see from the little red dot there on your map that we are in Devon. So and here we are in Oklahoma, and Devon's the biggest building you've got here. But we are in Devon in the southwest of England. I live there, and that's why we set it up that way. We started our company, a little bit of a story really. We started our company from my house in 2001. And we've been in the oil industry a long time, but we thought we could make a better centralizer that was on the market. So we designed a brand new centralizer, new design and everything else, and we patented it, and it's now got patents in 16 countries. 95% of our business is exported to 46 countries in the world today. Little one, what we do, if we can have that. So there's a picture on the right-hand side. You can see the finished casing centralizer. And the manufacturing that we have is a little bit more high-tech than the normal manufacturing you would see in a centralizer making company. We have lasers which cut out things. We have heat treatment process that heat treats the whole product on one. So it's much, much stronger than anything that's on the market today. A little bit about turnover on Semtech. When we started, well, from 2004 anyway, but it's gone steadily up. And this last year, we finish our accounts at the end of this month, and we're looking looking at about a 60% increase on last year. So we're quite pleased with that. But this sort of thing led us to look and plan for another manufacturing plant somewhere in the world. And we looked at the Far East, we looked at the Middle East, we looked at the States. And then Halliburton is one of our biggest companies here, and we sell about 80% of our business to Halliburton. So Halliburton asked us to sell some products to them in the States, and we started doing that about 9-10 months ago from a warehouse that we rented in Houston. And that really got us a feel for the market. So we had a feel for the market, we investigated the market, and of course I don't need to tell you fellas that the situation in the States, you've got something like 2,000 plus rigs drilling today. You're just going full ahead. And of course our products are being used by Halliburton, and they want more and more. So, you know, this manufacturing facility that we will put up will take care of the States and Mexico. That's what we're planning. A little bit there about royal approval. This story started, if you look at the bottom right picture, you'll see a picture of Prince Andrew talking to our sales and marketing manager. And this was an oil show we went to in Kazakhstan. And at the oil show, Prince Andrew said to us, well, you know, have you been in for the Queen's Award? And at that time, of course, we didn't even know what the Queen's Award was. So we said, he came back to me and I said, well, I don't know what it is. So anyway, we started looking. Cut a long story short, we entered for the thing and we won the first year, 2008, for exports. And they come to you, your company, and they audit your last 3 years books to see where you've been selling all your products and everything else. We then got an invitation to go to Buckingham Palace to meet the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, which is very nice. 2 people get that opportunity. So I went the first year, and then the second year we entered again for innovations this time because we'd had a new product on the market. So we entered it for innovation, and we won again, and that time we sent 2 more people to Buckingham Palace, so they had a chance to go as well. This year in February, but they asked us if we'd like a royal visit, and we said yes we would, and you'll see the picture in the bottom left there. That's a picture of the Duke of Kent. He's the Queen's first cousin, and he's also the president of Wimbledon. If you see all the Americans normally winning all the Wimbledon prizes, you'll see the fellow who presents them with the prizes is the Duke of Kent. So he came to our premises and met all our workers, and you know, these sort of things are very good for the morale of the workers, and they enjoy that. Okay, a little bit now, why the USA? From 2005 to 9, 14,000 new field wildcat exploration wells were drilled globally, and of course 10,300 then drilled right here in the States. So it really tells its own story on what you guys are doing. If you talk to the Halliburtons of this world, they will tell you that the business is booming, the things are going well. The biggest problem is they haven't got enough equipment and they haven't got enough people to keep up with demand. So that's why we picked the United States. And of course, we looked at where to set up in the United States. And of course, here you can see the gas fields. And of course, most of this is shale gas driven. And Oklahoma was more or less center of the oil industry. I don't need to tell you fellas that, you know. But that's why that was our first thing to look at, say, where should we set up. So a little bit why Oklahoma City. When we were investigating. It certainly was a central location, and there was industry around it. And that's important to us because if we get a breakdown in our machinery or anything like that, we want to be able to subcontract it out, get things fixed, and move on, as opposed to missing an order or something. Strong manufacturing infrastructure, of course, you've got here, high technical level, low comparable cost of living. That's what we're reading in the magazines and everything. We have to see that. Certainly, you've got a very proactive approach to attracting and supporting new businesses. When we came in February and we met the Chamber, we were very, very impressed by the Chamber, and they looked after us very well. We met a lot of people, and we also met the Mayor, and that was very good too, from one evening. But I'd like to thank Mike Ogan and James Johnson, who looked after us very well indeed. And, we do things a little differently, as you know, over in England. And negotiating and the questions being asked, sometimes you've just got to be a little bit patient, but it's worked out very well. So, you have here a broad range of financial and tax incentive opportunities. And, of course, it makes a lot of sense for us to try and work together as a team, building this company up here in the States. So we're going to have a 77,000 square foot factory. We're going to employ 32 people, fully locally recruited staff. The initial investment is all coming from the UK, nothing from the States at all. So we're putting all the money in, and then we'll go from there, really. So 7.2 million. And, of course, we're going to try and get U.S. suppliers wherever we can for the major equipment. Our major equipment, like, to give you an idea, the heat treatment plant alone is $2.5 million. And, of course, that's come from the States. And then we've got a laser that's about $800,000, and that too has come from the States. So it gives you an idea what we're trying to do, as much as we can. The next slide is our idea of what our market's going to be here in the States. And the first year, we think we'll be up around the 4 million, and then it goes on from there. These are all our projections that we've done for 5 years, and we're quite confident that we're going to achieve them. In fact, if anything, we're probably a bit on the low side. Now, the next one we have a video which is a little 4 or 5 minute video on the company. But before I do, is there any questions from anybody?
Are there any questions? Yeah, Frank.
You must be highly automated. I assume this market, what is the market in the U.S. in units? Centralizers per year.
I don't know. Oh, how big is the market in the U.S.? Enormous. Yeah. To give you some idea, the market generally in the world today for centralizers is about $800 million US. We, as you can see from my figures here, we're just scratching the surface. But the biggest problem here in the States is getting it out and getting it sold. I don't think there's any problem on not selling it. It's just making it fast enough to keep up with demand.
That's where I was coming from. I mean, you must be highly automated with 60 to 100 individuals manufacturing it must be several thousand, 100,000 a year or so of units. Is that right?
Oh, in production and facility? In our first year, yeah, let me just a minute. In our first year, it's 10,000 products every 2 months. So, and our year, Our first year, we were at 60,000.
60,000 a year, okay.
About 60,000 products. I'm sorry,
No problem, thank you.
Larry?
Can you announce where your 77,000 square foot factory is going to be?
Yes, sir. It's ready to move into now. We're leasing that for 5 years, and it's at 5500 Southwest 36. What does that mean?
It's in his district.
Oh, okay.
You picked the right ward to locate in. Of the whole universe, you picked the right place to come. Congratulations.
Mr. Cutmore, it may not be as impressive as a royal approval, but it's very important.
Pure chance.
Yeah,
In Oklahoma City, it's even more important.
that's right. Are there any other questions, serious questions, Mr. Conner? Thank you very much, and we really appreciate you choosing Oklahoma City.
Would you like us to show the video?
Yes, we would, yes.
There's no sound on this, obviously, so there's, but this gives you an idea of our manufacturing plant in the UK, and what's happening, running the centralizers here, running casing. There's centralizers on pipe waiting to go out to the rig. A selection of the companies that we sell to. One of the other things that this thing showed in the beginning was it's very important that we have the API certification, American Petroleum Institute certification, which we have, and we have the ISO certification also. That we will do here in the States as well. This is just a picture of one of our modern lasers that cuts out all of the centralizers from a flat sheet of steel. As you say, 100% heat treated, so it makes it much stronger. All our competition would only heat treat the bow, only. There you see very important, we don't have a failure rate on our centralizers. A lot in the market, up until we put ours on the market, used to break, unfortunately, and then people had to go fishing down the well for the things. But this is much stronger. It's a one-piece product, and of course, it doesn't break. So it's a big step forward. And with all the horizontal wells and the S-type wells and everything else that they're drilling today, you need a much stronger product. And this, what they're showing now, is the products that were on the market when we started to make this new one. And we all thought we could do something a little better than this. And so we came up with what we did. Really, vertical wells, I mean, it's when the oil industry changed to horizontal wells probably 15 years ago. It needs to be much tougher. Of course, we do have a lot of competition here. You all probably know Weatherford here in the UK, in the US, so they are big competition. That is an idea of some of the downtime and some of that the industry loses. This is our warehouse with some of our products in there. And this is loading up onto going into the heat treatment. It's a pusher furnace, what they call a pusher furnace, and it goes through and it's hardened and quenched and then washed and tempered. This is a picture of our office in the UK. This is our second office in the UK, really. Our first one, we moved after 4 years, and we moved into this. Now already we're really knocking at the door. We want a bigger premises. We have 5, 6 engineers, and we're always working on lean manufacturing and new ways to make things, and new products, of course. We make centralizers from 2 7/8 right through until 20-inch sizes. So we've got a full range of everything. So we call it the optimum solution. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good. Any additional questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
And the resolution, the one we adopted previously, doesn't authorize the expenditure of any gold funds. It's just an authorization to negotiate a contract. Motion made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion? Please cast your votes. And the resolution is approved. Resolution, thank you. Item C is a change order associated with the Myriad Gardens project. We've had a couple of these through the last several months. I see Laura Johnson's in. Laura is in, not Johnson. Laura is it? Story is in the. Thank you. Is in the audience. You can answer any questions we have about the Myriad Gardens project.
Yeah, items C, D, and E are all change orders on the Myriad Gardens. Actually, C is architectural package 1, D is architectural package 2, and E is architectural package number 3. The first one is item C. It's a $74,000 change order. It's about 7.36% of the overall project cost. This will be the last change order on the project. It closes out the project. And yes, Laura is here to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions?
Just a reminder, what is the percentage limit that we're restricted to not exceed? Thank you.
Any questions? Chair would entertain a resolution, a movement to approve the change order. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Cast your votes. And change order number 5 is approved. Item D is a similar project for $116,494.52.
And this is a 2.53% of the overall increase, and it does also close out the project.
Are there any questions on item D? Yes, Larry?
Yeah, I think part of this involves the restaurant. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, sir. This is.
How about a quick status? Do we have an operator? Do we have any hope?
We're very fortunate today to have Mr. Jim Talbert with us today of the Myriad Gardens Foundation that is planning to give us an update on or maybe he's not planning, but I'm sure can give us an update on that restaurant.
The restaurant, we have gone about by soliciting interest from local operators who we think have the potential to operate the restaurant in the gardens as well as the catering operation that will be related to that. We have originally identified about 20 individuals or firms. We have since boiled that down to 4. We have had recently an additional firm come forward that we had not identified early. Of those 4 or 5 firms, we expect to have proposals from them in the first or second week in November and identify one of them to negotiate an agreement with.
Any other questions about the restaurant? Thank you very much. Item D, Chair would entertain a motion for approval. Second. Motion made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion? Cast your votes. And item D is approved. Item E is additionally a change order associated with the Mary Gardens renovations of $5,715.
And this is a 0.68% overall increase on the project, and this also closes out the project.
Are there any questions on item E?
Move approval.
A motion made and seconded to approve. Please cast your votes. Item E is approved. Thank you very much. Item F is one that probably takes a little bit of explanation. Mr. Couch.
Mr. Chairman, ITS, sole source purchase, ITS is our intelligent transportation system, and this is our attempt to get our traffic signals to talk to each other and coordinate. It's a large program we're doing throughout the city. It was mostly funded through our 2007 bond issue that we did. We are doing part of that work in association with Project 180. In 2009, the trust authorized staff to utilize city contracts of goods for this project, and with Project 180, staff saw that an opportunity to utilize the construction to install infrastructure for the system. In other words, when the streets are ripped up, let's get it in while we can. Utilizing TIF funds, the trust utilized the city contracts with Telco Supply to install manholes and conduits for the ITS system. To date, we've spent about $689,000. The contract expired on August 3rd, and in order to rebid the services, adoption of this resolution will allow staff to continue installing conduit and manholes on existing construction sites or at such time a new contract is in place.
Thank you, Jim. Are there questions?
Move approval.
Move approval. Motion made and seconded to approve the resolution for $800,000, not to exceed $800,000. Any further discussion? Please cast your votes, and the resolution is approved. Item G is another one I think that needs some explanation.
Probably so. And some deals are bigger than other deals. This is kind of a big deal right here.
But only one line.
In 2009, the trust entered into an agreement with Devon to borrow $95 million to fund the projects of 180. The reason we did that and Devon agreed to it was because it was unbankable because we were doing this project off of TIF on a project that wasn't there. So Devon loaned us some money to borrow it, or to lend us some money so we could do the construction. The agreement calls for the trust to refinance or take out Devon's debt by September of 2015. Because of the favorable interest rates that we're seeing at this point in time, we believe it's advisable to do that now. And so in an effort to take advantage of that, staff wants to be proactive in identifying a team to develop a strategy for the takeout. And these are requests for proposals, and the proposals are due back on November 22nd of 2011.
Questions?
Is that a fixed rate you'd be looking for?
You know, I think we can look at options. We almost always, I'm pretty sure it'll be a fixed rate. I don't think we're in a position to take the risk on the rate.
From overall concept perspective, is this similar to what we've done on other TIF projects? Otherwise, we didn't have a single loan to pay off at that point. But don't we borrow money?
Yes, the answer is yes, we have. But this is the Devon TIF is quite unique. But it's the same framework as the other TIFs.
Should, when we get the proposals back in, it becomes for some reason not feasible to take out Devon right now, we can just say leave it alone because we don't have to do anything until I think you said 2015?
That's correct.
Is that a correct?
And so we do. We will have discretion. Until we pull the trigger on it, we will have discretion to call it off if we so desire.
Are there any other questions?
Just to follow on to Councilman McAtee's question, does it have to be an all or nothing? Can you pay down some?
I suppose we could. I think we'll probably evaluate that. I would guess we take it all out because of the rate at this point in time. I'm not sure. I know what the advantage would be of only taking part of it out, but we have our financial team in the room today, and I'm sure they'll look at all options as we go forward as they work with our financial advisor on this.
Any other questions? We need a motion to approve this request.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Please cast your votes. And the item is approved. Item H is a different item that we'll probably encounter more frequently as we go forward now, relating to the contract we have with the Mary Garden Foundation. Jim, would you like to say something about this?
The Mary Gardens Foundation has been searching for the right solution to the operation of the new ice rink for several months. We identified 5 national firms who were experienced in the operation of ice rinks, and we interviewed all of them and brought 2 of them here and gave serious consideration to both of those 2. We selected a firm by the name of Ice Rink Events, partly because they are the people who advise the architects in the design of the ice rink and are also responsible for the fabrication of the chilling equipment which will be installed at the ice rink. In addition to being fabricators, they are operators of rinks on a contract basis and are perhaps the 3rd largest firm in the country that does that. Each of these firms that we talked to identified a significant list of things that we didn't have that you had to have to operate an ice rink. Everything from a Zamboni, which is the related type product, which is what is the most expensive, to cash registers. None of those equipment items had been considered in the budgeting for the ice rink. In our basic agreement with the city, which is the lease and management agreement wherein the foundation operates the gardens, we agreed in the process of negotiating that this kind of event would probably occur, and so we set aside in the agreement $500,000 to be used for this purpose or similar purposes for things that weren't thought of and are anticipated. There's a provision in the agreement that there should be a committee created called the Myriad Gardens Finance Committee. It's a joint committee of the foundation and the city to administer this fund or approve the items that would be used, taken from this fund, paid for by this fund, and also annually to consider the budget of the foundation, which is jointly funded by private donations, earnings, and city contributions. We selected this committee in anticipation of this particular problem, and from the foundation, there's 2 representatives, myself and Larry Nichols. From the city, there's been 2 appointed, one appointed by Councilman Ryan, and he chose to appoint himself, which I'm delighted with, and the mayor appointed Councilman Greenwell. That committee of 4 is charged with considering items of this sort. We had a meeting, and Councilman Ryan was not able to attend, but the provision in the agreement is that the majority of 3 can conduct a meeting. The committee met and approved the request that we're making today for the trust to fund out of this fund in the agreement approximately $200,000, potentially $200,000 in equipment investments. I frankly don't think it will cost $200,000. We have identified the basic list that is to be supplied by our contractor, and it's about $90,000. We've identified 4 other things that have not been supplied by the contractor, which we think will amount to perhaps another $50,000. There is one error in the exhibit to the resolution. It calls for lighting for the rink and seating areas. There is adequate lighting provided in the design of the ice rink. However, there is no provision for temporary fencing, and we're going to need some temporary fencing, which we can use elsewhere in the gardens. Probably the kind of fencing that's described as bike rack fencing, the portable steel fencing that can be moved around. We need to do that to control crowds in connection with the ice rink. So we anticipate that the initial requirement will be for approximately $90,000 plus the 4 items, the PA system and the outdoor speakers, the benches for individuals to sit on, to put on ice skates. It turns out those need to be of a special type because anything ordinary the ice skates will destroy. So these are still steel benches that are coated in vinyl, and which is recommended by all the contractors we have dealt with. Those benches can be used elsewhere when we're not using them in the gardens seasonally. Last year, the downtown Oklahoma City had an ice rink, as you know, between here and the Civic Center. They had about 22,000 skaters. We anticipate a significant increase from that. And for that reason, this list includes 400 pairs of skates, which seems like a very large number. But by the time you cover all sizes and enough quantities in the popular sizes to be sure that we serve everybody there, it's been recommended by all parties we've dealt with that we purchase approximately 400 pairs of skates. We'll have to supplement these on an annual basis, but they have an expected life of about 5 to 7 years. Any questions
Other
about
questions?
the list?
Mr. Topper.
Jim, just so we're clear, do we need to amend or Exhibit A to add temporary fencing?
If we can, I'd like to do that. I'd like to eliminate the needing for lighting because that has been provided, but make provision for temporary fencing.
We should do that, would be my recommendation.
Even though we're approving an amount above what they're asking for,
Right, just so it's clear in here that we're approving those things.
we want to make this as clear as we can. And I want to say a word is I was invited to attend the Finance Committee meeting yesterday. It was a telephone conference, and a unique combination of technical difficulties, operator error, and stupidity prevented me from attending. So it wasn't a slight at all, and the three representatives, I'm sure, did an excellent job. Larry, you got a question?
Jim,
And I'm sorry you weren't there, Councilman, and I appreciate that. Yes, go ahead. I'm
when
sorry.
do you forecast that the rink will be used? When will the first skater hit the ice?
We're hoping, and there are some technical problems that we're holding our breath about the actual date, but we're hoping to have a soft opening on the 18th of November and have it available formally for an opening just in advance of Thanksgiving. And to run it longer than it was run last year, but we are still discussing how much further, how much longer.
And to clarify, it's that sense of urgency that is the rationale for the waiving for the competitive bidding.
Questions? Other questions? Jim, the downtown OKC project that existed out here for the last several years, it's slightly larger, as I understand, than the facility you have?
No, it is actually about the same size, probably not as efficient as this one in terms of crowd usage.
Did you look, does downtown OKC, did they have any equipment that might?
No, everything they had was leased.
Okay, did you all consider?
They didn't own anything.
Did you all consider leasing as well?
Yes. We talked to them at length, and they've been very helpful.
And the economics came out that we have to buy it?
Right.
And the payback period, the benefit is, how long we'll have to operate before we match the leasing cost?
Well, it's, you know, if you talk about a payback on the overall investment in the ice rink, I don't want to know. But if on this equipment, I expect that we will have we should have at least no more than a 2-year payback, and perhaps less than that.
Any questions, other questions? Yeah, we'll approve the amendment first, and then we take a resolution.
Sorry.
Say that again, Jim.
Yes. I'll offer a motion to amend the resolution Exhibit A by replacing B4, which was worded lighting, to B4 as temporary fencing.
Thank you.
A motion made and second to amend the Exhibit A to replace lighting with fencing. All those in favor say aye. And the amendment approved.
Thank you very, very much.
Now that we have to vote on the resolution itself, the big package.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further questions or discussion? Please cast your votes. And it is approved. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is item I, which is the report we get each month from our staff on the Oklahoma City development. I'm sorry, we're going to have a report from Robin before that comes. Robin, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I'm sorry.
It's not a problem. Thank you. Robin Roberts-Krieger with the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber. Two things I'll cover today. One is the first quarter report for the contract between the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation and the Trust. And the second is our 2010-11 annual report on business retention and expansion. Again, we now have the new metrics, the new format. It's a lot more streamlined. We did hear your feedback. We split out the business retention and expansion from the business recruitment data, and we also tried to make it less narrative and more data intensive. So any feedback would be appreciated as we move forward. A couple of things that I would like to highlight between July and September of this year. We had the opportunity to host what they call JIDO, which is the joint, it's basically the IED devices that have been impacting our troops so negatively in theater. We were asked to host for Oklahoma companies a forum here with federal funders who are working on solutions to that. We had about a 2-week window to pull it together, and we had over 100 Oklahoma City and Oklahoma companies attend that. We've gotten great feedback, and it was everything from people who build things to researchers who have software and so forth that's being used. So that was one opportunity in August of this year. We hosted that at the Skirvin. We also were approached by General Electric and were able to partner with the Midwest City Chamber and Tinker Air Force Base on doing a GE supplier summit. We had about 130 Oklahoma companies, many of those Oklahoma City companies attend, looking for opportunities to potentially become suppliers to General Electric, specific to their mainly military engines and that line of workload. So that was a great opportunity in early August as well. You will note in marketing, we have been continuing to follow up on the big campaign we ran in the late spring, early summer on the West Coast, and we've seen a 96% increase in our website traffic. We believe a lot of that can be attributed to upgrades in our website, the new launch of our chamber website, but also a lot that was driven from that campaign. We also had the pleasure of working we're not going to talk about Whole Foods, that's Q2, but the outlet malls and that grand opening did occur in the first quarter. Very successful. You've heard a report a little bit about that in the media and elsewhere, but very well received, great attendance, and so we're really pleased with that. We tend to be either slightly ahead, at, or slightly below all of the metrics, so we don't see any red flags right now. We continue to work, and before I give the BRE report, any questions on the first quarter report?
Are there questions?
Then I will move on to our business retention and expansion report, which was sent to you both electronically as a PDF. I believe you also have hard copies. Looking to Brent. Each year, we interview all of our business retention and expansion companies. Those are primary job creators in Oklahoma City specifically. I will introduce Mike Chumo, who's one of our 2 full-time business retention and expansion individuals. Mike has an extensive background in manufacturing and lean manufacturing. We aggregate that data. Our interviews and meetings with these companies is confidential, and we frequently are asked to assist with a myriad of different things, from permitting issues to needs to expand, workforce issues. It's whatever the company has on that any given day. But we also have a series of questions we ask. We enter that into our database so we can aggregate that data and really get a feel for what the issues are for those companies in a confidential manner. And I would bring to your attention a couple of key things that came up in this report. I would also note that it's based on the city's fiscal year, and the first 6 months and the second 6 months were a little bit different. The first 6 months, the companies were still, being very cautious with the economy. The second 6 months, they were concerned with workforce, and the hiring was ramping up. So it's always amazing how fast things can change. A couple of things that came up. Workers' comp continues to be one of the #1 issues. That is obviously on the Chamber's legislative agenda on that side of the House. But in talking to these companies, they really appreciate that the legislature has made some changes, but they're not seeing it yet on their bottom line. And so it's still very expensive for them. So we're continuing to monitor that situation. We believe some of that will take care of itself over the next year or two as it implements, but that is one of the top issues for most of our companies, workers' compensation. They continue to talk about public education, particularly K through 12. They understand it's a complicated issue. They also understand in Oklahoma County it's complicated by lots of different public school districts. So we don't really necessarily differentiate between the districts, but just a concern making sure that we get our youth graduated from high school and that they are graduating with the skill sets they need, the reading, the being able to transfer decimals to fractions, those kinds of things that are needed, as well as getting them into the programs at the career techs and higher education. There's just a real acknowledgement that educating next generation of workforce is incredibly important to these companies. Also, and I say this with a smile, roads and bridges, whether it's federal, state, or local, there's never enough money, I think, to do all of the repairs and the infrastructure improvements that the companies would like. They are very appreciative of the GO bond work that's being done. They're very appreciative of the crosstown work that the state and the federal funding is doing, but always comments about that and continuing to be mindful of keeping the transportation infrastructure in the best shape we can. We do talk to our peer cities around the country, and unlike many of our peer cities, our companies are pretty happy with Oklahoma City. We don't get a lot of criticism of the city, if you will. I mean, there are minor things on permitting and so forth. I think that's kind of standard business. But by and large, they're very happy with what's happening in Oklahoma City. It's ironic how many tell us how much they like the Thunder, so hopefully we'll get that issue resolved, even though I know we can't really do anything about that here. But there's a lot of confidence in the city. There's a lot of support for the city. They're very patient with some of the construction going on because they see that as progress, and they're also very happy and excited about the next generation of MAPS projects. So overall, it's a pretty positive report, especially if you look at national trends and what the companies around the country are saying. So a couple areas we need to work on, but overall, from a perspective of Oklahoma City, the companies are pretty happy. And with that, I will take any questions.
Other questions, Robin? Larry?
Robin, I forgot to ask one on the previous part of the report. Any comments on the progress and future of Crossroads? I noticed you mentioned it in your report.
Allison, do you want to comment on that?
Allison Oshel with Greater Oklahoma City Chamber. I'm sure you all heard that Crossroads did sell, finally. And the good news is it sold to a local ownership group, Raptor Properties, and they do want to try to aggressively promote that as a retail center. They're offering some pretty good lease incentives right now. We did, at the Chamber, pass on to them a lease prospect that was looking for a location that was high in Hispanic population, and that Crossroads fit that bill, and it does look like they're going to negotiate that lease. And so we will work with them to try to help them with the retailing. They do admit that they probably, on some of their anchor stores, will end up leasing those to non-retail uses. They've got some interest from churches and some other things like that. So it will probably be a mixed-use facility at the end of the day, but we're eager to get that leased up.
Are there any questions? Either Robin or... Robin, thank you very much for all your efforts, and particularly Syntec. We hear an awful lot recently about U.S. manufacturing jobs going offshore, and here we have an example in Oklahoma City of manufacturing jobs coming from overseas here. So it's a great job. Thank you very much. Next is the item I tried to introduce a while ago, the General Manager report.
Mr. Chairman, just want to highlight a few things this afternoon. First of all, we received information from Advanced Academics for their second fiscal year. They ended fiscal year 2 with a total of 70 employees and an average salary of $45,659. We're expecting information from AAA in the next 30 days as to their progress. We are, regarding the TIFs, we are sending letters to the Tax Commission in mid-October requesting approximately $1.9 million combined for TIFs 3, 5, and 8 from the sales tax portion. Principal and interest payments for TIF 2 were made in September, and that reduces the outstanding debt on TIF 2 to $25.9 million. As Robin pointed out, the Outlet Mall was a great success. We believe they had sales in August in the range of about $18 million. And what that led to was the city of Oklahoma City receiving our single largest sales tax check ever was our sales tax check that we received in October of this year. So it's not all because of the Outlet Mall, but it's a piece of that. And economy's obviously solid here. Not so good in Greece, but in Oklahoma City, it's not so bad. So.
Are there any questions, comments? Are there any comments from trustees in general? Comments from the staff? Oh, yeah, Jim, I'm sorry.
I just briefly wanted to offer a word of thanks to Mr. Couch, the mayor, the council, the staff, everyone that's been a part of the Myriad renovation. Really spectacular. I had a chance to attend the public opening about 10 days ago, and I was just blown away with how well it's done and how welcoming it seemed to be for families of all ages. Kids were running everywhere. It was a dog park. I mean, it just was a prideful moment. And when you see a few items on here like the bookkeeping, you think about all the duck's feet that are underwater. When you see the myriad, it's the duck floating, it looks beautiful and graceful, but all that effort that had to happen from everybody, from Mr. Tolbert to city staff, and I just wanted to say thank you, job well done.
Comments from the public? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.